Okay, the next segment is on protocols. So you should have an iObservation handout. The first page is the learning map that is not in color. It's a grayscale. And you should find all of the actual elements that belong to design question 1, 8, and 9 should be in that packet. Is that right, Jenny?
Yep.
Okay, so all of the elements are in that packet, so you kind of have a paper visual of what those protocols look like. Now, when we use the term protocol, it is that whole form that you're looking at. So if you can stay focused on design question 1, I believe the very first element is the one on learning goals. Yeah, what will I do, or number 1, providing clear learning goals and scales. So that whole page is what we refer to as a protocol. Now, what do you see when you look at this protocol? Well, let's pretend like you have an observer coming into your classroom. The observer is going to know that we're looking for, is it clear what the learning goal is to the student? So the observer would be looking for you to have some of this evidence under teacher evidence. Now, does it have to be identical to what's written on here? No. These are samples of what are typical when an observer looks in a classroom and sees this kind of evidence. So we would be looking for, the teacher has a learning goal posted so that all students can see it. The learning goal is a clear statement of knowledge or information as opposed to an activity or an assignment. There's a very real difference between activities and assignments versus a learning goal. The teacher has a scale or rubric that relates to the learning goal posted so all the students can see it. So in this box, you know, there's all different kinds of protocols. I'm just trying to give you an idea of how to look at it. In this box, the teacher evidence, those are the kinds of things that the observer will be looking for in your classroom because it's evidence-based. Now, if it's not there, does that mean you automatically get a low score for that? Or you're, going to have a discussion about how to improve? No, there will typically be follow-up questions within iObservation. It may be email communication within iObservation, but there will generally be follow-up questions so that the observer gets a better understanding of before or after. It could be that you don't have a learning goal and skill actually posted in the classroom. It could be that students have a very specific portfolio that they use on a daily basis and they're referring to that on a regular basis throughout the lesson. So anyway, then we've got the student evidence. Now, I'm going to jump the gun here a little bit because I've come to a realization, and I don't know which administrators I've talked to about, but somebody asked me a question today. It was one of the administrators, and I'm pretty sure my answer is correct, and I'm pretty sure this is the way we will unfold it. The student evidence piece, the administrator said, I'm really having a hard time when I've gone into the classrooms and doing my observations. I'm having a hard time actually being able to see the student evidence pieces. So on this particular protocol, the student evidence is, when asked, students can explain the learning goal for the lesson. When asked, students can explain how their current activities relate to the learning goal. So it wasn't necessarily about this particular one, but the whole student evidence piece came into question. Well, as we get to learning about the scale, I think that is where this piece comes into play a little more. The student evidence can come from the teacher's conversation or within the teacher's lesson, or it could come from, the observer just walking in and asking the student if they know where they are, or, asking the student to provide some evidence. So let me jump down to the scale in order to explain the student evidence piece. The differences between beginning, developing, applying, and innovating. The key things that we learned were to really look at the words specifically, and it should be clear as to what level that you're performing. So for example, Beginning is uses the strategy incorrectly or with missing parts. Developing provides a clearly stated learning goal accompanied by a scale or rubric that describes levels of performance. So, if you want to know what a scale looks like, how do I create a scale for a learning goal, you can look at this protocol right here, because this is exactly what it is. The learning goal is right here. And if you look down, where am I going to find that, Jenny? In applying? Or
Applying.
Beginning?
Applying.
Okay, look down here at applying. The learning goal is actually restated right in here. Provides a clear stated learning goal accompanied by a scale or rubric that describes levels of performance. Now, look at this word right here, and. The word and is the clarifying difference between each one of these categories, or between developing and applying rather. If you look at provides a clearly stated learning goal accompanied by a scale or rubric that describes level of performance. Okay, you did what your task was, to provide a goal and a scale for that goal. But unless you do something with it, and here's the fundamental difference between, I hear people say, well, we've done this, a million times, so I have to recreate the wheel. We always hear that, those of us that are older, and we know that the big part of that is true. We keep recreating the wheel. But here's the difference, is that if we would have just done what we were supposed to do 25 years ago and actually implement it in the classroom instead of just talking about it, we probably wouldn't be recreating the wheel. So the difference here is, and monitor students' understanding of the learning goal and the levels of performance. So it's not good enough for you just to do it, because all in all, it's not about you, it's about the students. It's about what the students are doing and interacting with that particular learning goal and scale. Now, the measure here is like, are you monitoring about half of your kids? Are you monitoring and keeping about, 50% of your kids on track? That's going to keep you at applying level. It's whenever you've got it zinged and you are playing tango with about 100% of your students, and those students who aren't coming along with you, you're sticking with them and you're keeping the dance going the whole time. You're not going to let them off the hook. That's the difference between applying and innovating. Okay? So developing is you've done your job, you've done the goals and scales. Applying is you're actually playing tango with the students on it. They get it just as much as you do. They know what they're supposed to strive for. Am I explaining this okay, Jenny? Yeah, anything you want to add? Chris, Scott, Jim? Okay. And then innovating is you're really working with each and every student. You're not letting anybody fall through your fingers. You are on it. You've got the with-itness with everybody in your classroom. That's the difference between applying and innovating. Okay, and that's pretty much all there is to the protocols. So then the next question is, so how, as we've had our learning and we've kind of drilled this down into more, and I hate to say easier way, but more of a focus on these three strategies for us to excel in this year, what will that look like in our evaluation model? And I will tell you right out of the gate, I have one number wrong, and I don't know how I did that. I guess I typed it wrong. But look at domain 1. We're only going to focus on, we're not ignoring everything else, but we're going to provide more focus on those three design questions. So design question 1, think of all of these domains for iObservation equaling 100%. So design question 1 is going to get 25% weight. Design question 8, that is the number that's wrong. It should be 15. And I'll send you guys this PowerPoint too. You don't need to get your binoculars out. Be a microscope, wouldn't it? Okay, then design question 9 will be 15% also. So 1, 25, 8 would be 15, and 9 would be 15. And then Domain 4 at the bottom, collegiality and professionalism, because we believe that we are working as a team, we're working in professional learning communities, we are working to help each other, we're placing a high value on getting along, being members of a community. It's not just you going into your classroom and shutting your door anymore. It's we are all in this together and we're all helping each other. So we're still going to apply 25% to that. Domains 2 and 3 will account for 10%. So that's how you'll get your whole iObservation score. We just want to put real laser focus on just those 3 for this year. Next year it'll be, probably something different unless we just still feel like we need more growth in these areas. Okay? Okay, so I have some terms that I'd like for you to look at. We've talked about, or thrown out the term scale, design question, the term protocol, and the term element. And I would like you to just take a couple of minutes and flip through your papers and see if you can find a page or a part of a page that represents each one of those terms. If you can do that for me real quick, we'll have one less group monitoring to make sure everybody is on board. So everybody find a page that represents one of those terms. Okay, so once you can verify that you and your partner, like someone sitting close to you, you and someone else can verify that you know what a scale is, stand up. Show it. Show the scale. Show the person standing next to you. Point it out if you're looking at the protocol page. Oops, I just cheated. Is everybody right? Is your partner right? Okay, you can sit back down. Okay, everybody find a protocol. Find a protocol. Share it with your partner when you can confirm you and your partner know what a protocol is. A protocol is the form. It's the form we just went over. This is a protocol. This is a scale. Okay? This whole thing is a protocol. This is a scale. Good job. Sit down. A design question. Everybody find a design question. Oh yeah. It's exercise day. Okay, is this a design question? Yes or no?
Yes.
Good job. Okay, you can sit down. And I think element was the last one. When you know what an element is, stand up. An element is the same thing as a what you would consider an instructional strategy. Yeah, evidence, exactly. So an element, an element means the same thing as instructional categories, which means the same thing as instructional strategies, and there's 41 of them.